Throughout the entire music industry, it is commonplace for new songs to be released in one of three formats. You've got your longer, narratively driven projects as albums or LPs, long plays, and then you've got your individual tracks as singles. Least common of the big three, though, land somewhere right in the middle, and those are extended plays, better known as EPs. What tends to make EDM unique, though, is that EPs are very commonplace, often more so than actual albums. It's not uncommon for an artist to have 3 or 4 EPs for every 1, if any, LPs. So how was 2023 for EPs within the EDM sphere? Honestly, pretty damn good. Probably the best year of the 2020s yet. So without any further ado, I'm Dakota from Bowtied Media, and let's hop into my picks for the top 10 EDM EPs of 2023. There are certain artists that I tend to have a love-hate relationship with. Honestly, everyone does. Whether they have a large discography or just switch up their styles all the time, you can go from loving or hating an artist from one release to the next. And it's not like I ever really hated this artist, but definitely never loved anything like this. Making his Bitbird debut with this EP, Euphoria is hands down my favorite Tisoki project to date. Bringing together his off-kilter trap and future-based production with a brighter and happier tone, this EP fits perfectly within the Bitbird ecosystem. Everything about this EP just feels more polished and put together than any previous project of his. Each track is unique enough to shine on its own, but as a collective, the whole EP feels incredibly cohesive.
So cold.
As a whole, I think hybrid trap music had a really solid year, and that's largely in part to artists like Tisoki carving out their own niche into the musical landscape. There's just something about his light and jittery production that feels so fresh. Honestly, I think Tisoki and Bitbird really complement each other as an artist and label, and I hope to see them work together more in the future. If you've been around this channel for much time, you'll quickly learn that there is a certain subgenre of dubstep that I never really found an appreciation for. Rhythm. The heavily distorted synth hits, crashing melodies, and often empty sound design are seldom my preferred listening habits. But as I try to listen to every type of EDM subgenre out there, I'm often listening to new rhythm tunes. And then, every once in a while, something really grabs my attention. MUERTE's Occult Lullaby is exactly its namesake, a lullaby for the occult. Sinister in nature, haunting in tone, and destructive as all hell. Utilizing that natural emptiness that comes with the territory of rhythm, MUERTE takes that space to further enhance the feeling of being sung a children's lullaby. But rather than the sweet sounds of grandma's voice, it's the deepest synth growl you've ever heard. To me, the epicenter of this whole EP is the second track, Body of Bones. Essentially the core and a self-contained lullaby, Geely's innocent and angelic vocal delivery portrays the same purity of those children's lullabies, but with a cruel twist. The common lullaby narrative is twisted 180 to truly become the occult's lullaby. Take me to the grave, I'm alive and suffering, in this body of bones, living to die alone, till the burn of hell reminds me ain't hope. To me, this is the true lullaby of the EP. Everything else is set to further complement this singular track. I truly believe this is one of the best, if not the greatest, rhythm projects yet. It'll be hard for anything to top the mastery of this EP. As an avid music enjoyer who very clearly puts a lot of time and effort into intentionally listening to new tunes, it's always really satisfying to find a relatively lesser known artist you love. You get to be the first one to suggest the artist to all your friends, and when they eventually hit the main stage, as you hope they will, you get to say you were a day oneer. Well, there's a likely chance you haven't heard of him before, so let me introduce you to one of my favorite new artists, AMNES.
Take back what I said.
Debuting on Bitbird in late 2022 with Otaku, the completed EP NER would release just 5 months later. And since then, AMNES has become a mainstay to the Bitbird roster, even releasing another EP in November. AMNES' production style mainly resides within hybrid trap, but is distinctly a fusion of other styles of techno, deep house, and hip hop. It's hard to really nail down what makes AMNES' sound design so special, but you know it when you hear it. I really love how AMNES finds a brilliant balance of bright synth melodies and fat bassline hits. It's almost as if they are perpetually sidechained to each other. When one is the forefront, the other takes the backseat, and it's a constant game of back and forth. AMNES has been one of my favorite new artists of 2023, and I hope that you'll find some appreciation for his craft as well. Speaking of Bitbird artists, they were on an absolute tear in 2023, putting out some of the finest niche EDM tunes of the year. I would say this artist's real breakout year was last year's 2022, but 2023 was the year that they really cemented their legacy as one of the best for me.
Why you always up on me? Why do I have to apologize?
It had seemed like the days of truly electro music were fading until helloworld popped onto the scene. Constantly using analog sound design for that distinctly electronic sound, helloworld single-handedly kept a style of music alive and well for me. Things I Want to Text You is an EP focused on exactly what you'd think: phones, and the regret of conversations never had. Using the imagery of a classic flip phone, helloworld makes this project uniquely nostalgic in both its symbolism and sound design. And there aren't many people within the EDM sphere that write as well as helloworld does. Obviously, the backing production is mainly at the forefront when thinking about electronic dance music, but it's refreshing to see how intentional one can really be with their songwriting.
It's hard to fall asleep at night when it seems like it's falling apart.
I really think helloworld is one of the most underrated artists right now. He's constantly putting out banger after banger and just getting better and better with each release. This next entry may be the least strictly EDM in its sound, but it undoubtedly deserves a spot on this list. With less emphasis on a typical 4-on-the-floor beat in favor of a more vocal-forward collaboration project, one could argue that this was their best project yet. ODESZA and Yellow House's Flaws in Our Design is simultaneously a brand new sound for ODESZA, while keeping their core sound alive and well. Taking a more soulful and psychedelic approach to this EP, Yellow House offers beautifully melancholy vocals throughout, reminiscent of a Tame Impala style. From its sound design to mixing to tone, everything about this record was a smash hit. I think what really makes this project special, though, is its ability to be a natural progression of their sound for lifelong fans like myself, but also more approachable tracks for new listeners. It's a whole new sound from ODESZA that beautifully encapsulates a summer's day while also narratively addressing the flaws in our human design. But it's Yellow House that ties this whole EP together. Without that intentionally pensive vocal delivery, this might have just been a weird sonic detour for ODESZA. Yellow House's constant vocal presence and narrative through lines are what makes this project go from good to great. You know, as I'm writing the script for this video in chronological order, I'm realizing how many artists landed on this list that I would say had a breakout year. We're at the halfway point, and I've already mentioned such a year 3 times now. And well, it's because it's true, especially for our next entrant. And you know, I don't think we've had enough house representation yet. It feels like there's been a real appetite for club-focused house in 2023, and Camoufly took off at exactly the right time. In Plain Sight is a fun house EP for the masses with catchy hooks and bright vocals. At 4 tracks in under 12 minutes, Camoufly doesn't waste a single second of its runtime. What makes Camoufly unique in the house landscape of today, though, is that his tunes are always so nice and bright, seemingly vivid. It's hard not to have the biggest grin on your face while jamming out to this EP. Camoufly has something special brewing, and it's hard not to keep your eyes fixated on him. Speaking of an appetite for club-focused house, is it feeling a little warm in here, guys? I think I'm getting hot. Knock 2's Room 202 is the quintessential dance club project of 2023. And yes, Knock 2 had a breakout year as well, but nothing could really prepare him for the success that this EP found. Released in late January, there was plenty of time for this EP to simmer in the minds of the industry. Right off the heels of this release, he immediately came out with collaboration tracks with the likes of Dylan Francis and Nightmare. What a year. Okay, so what makes this EP so special? What makes it the quintessential dance club record? One simple word: pacing. Not a term often used in the music sphere, but the pacing on this not only EP but individual tracks is so intricate. In the same way a DJ pushes and pulls in a crowd throughout a set, Knock 2 is constantly setting up big moments with engaging vocal samples and pre-drop movements. It's almost like the track is on a constant upward trajectory. From the moment you hit play to the time it's over, you're just going up and up and up and up. There is just never a dull moment throughout this EP. Also, Bass House is pretty rare to find on a main stage setlist. That was until this EP dropped. And Skrillex. But I firmly believe that Knock 2 single-handedly brought a semi-niche subgenre into the limelight this year. Whew, okay, get ready for a wild ride, because this next EP is not your cookie-cutter EDM. In fact, this pair of producers teamed up for a new alias as they welcome you into the wild world of what they call post-EDM. That's right, we are beyond the future. Welcome to the afterlife. Antagonizer is the brainchild of producers Away and Crywolf, with OMNIVIOLENCE being their debut project. Stylistically reaching beyond our current trends and production styles into an unknown future, everything about this project is brilliant. The writing, mixing, production, it all comes together into one well-polished, harrowing experience. Honestly, I know there are some of you that will find this EP too chilling. There's just some truly dark and disturbing sound design throughout this EP that is far from your happy-go-lucky EDM. Because after all, we are beyond time. We are seemingly within the apocalypse. Picked up by Rez's Hypnovision, this was without a doubt the strongest, darkest, deepest music on the label this year. And frankly, I'm all for it. They were a perfect match. You want your disturbing atmosphere? Well, here you go. Year after year, there is a certain artist that easily lands a spot on this best EPs of the year's list. In fact, with this entry, they will have their 5th spot in my top 10 this side of the 2020s. And they did it with their best EP yet. MEMBA released their 8th and 9th EPs this year, with this 8th one, Union, being their strongest. Well, not their longest EP to date, this is double the length of their last few, and boy, does every track just shine. This is actually the only EP on this list where I genuinely love each and every track, no skips.
Tell me what you see.
MEMBA's unique flair of tribal-sounding hybrid trap is a style that they have locked in. With big percussion instrumentation and culturally relevant vocals, Union is MEMBA's most refined collection of tracks. I particularly love the treatment of Chikalika Sen's vocals on Jayo, as they use her lead-in vocals as the main melody for the final drop in an explosive halftime finale. Despite the incredible production MEMBA pumps out themselves, they brought out some big name features such as Party Favor, Bikla, and Elohim for a well-rounded cast of supporting acts. And it's almost like you can hear MEMBA constantly innovating as you get deeper and deeper into the EP. Before our ride comes to its final stop, let's take a moment to appreciate some other really solid EPs out there that just didn't make this year's list. Here are your 2023 honorable mentions. You know, I do these videos after December's conclusion because I like having a perfect 12-month calendar year to pick from. But you know, sometimes as the year goes on, you can forget about the earliest releases back in January and February. Not this baby. From release until today, there was no doubt that this was going to be my #1 pick, and I think most of you would agree. Oh, Fox Stevenson, the Enemy Brain Entertainment Suite. Honestly, this EP has no right being just an EP. At 9 songs and barely under 30 minutes, this is a big boy EP, longer than a lot of albums that I reviewed this year. Fox Stevenson has a certain charm to his production and vocals that make his music feel so raw and intimate.
What you fear isn't what you fear.
But this is just an absolutely gorgeous project. Teetering back and forth between house and drum and bass, Fox Stevenson feels like he's in his prime. By bringing his smoothest and finest production to this project, it culminates into what is his greatest one to date. And with a variety of tones throughout the tracklist, coupled with its length, this is the best EP of 2023.
I'm hanging by a shoestring, riding all the moon swings. Maybe it's a good thing. I can't even tell anymore.
Like I said at the top, 2023 was a killer year for EPs, and one that I don't think will be topped for quite some time. I rated and reviewed around about 120 EPs this year. Let me know what you think of this list. Is there any that should have not been on this list or any that you think should have made it? Let me know in that comment section below. But other than that, I'm Dakota from Bowtied Media, and I'll see you guys in another video.